I would love to talk to you about home birth versus hospital birth. What do you think about that? And from my perspective, I could be wrong, of course, but I just feel like, irrespective of how calm you're trying to be, in hospital, there is a feeling of being rushed, right? Whereas if you're at home, there's just you,
Oh, yeah.
most likely your partner. You can have the perfect setup that you want, can go as per your birth plan. Whereas in hospital, sometimes it's not the case. You do prepare a birth plan, but how likely are you to end up having that birth plan executed, right?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, there is the reality. I'm going to say hands down, if you can choose a home birth, choose it. The reality is only midwives support home births.
Yeah.
And you may want a midwife and you may want a home birth, but you don't get a midwife. And so your options are to do what's called a free birth, which has no medical support, which I don't. This is a hard part, right? In some ways, can you absolutely just do it by yourself? Yeah, I believe that. I do. The same way a cow can birth their calf by themselves at the farm.
Have you heard any stories of any client that you had that called you in active labor?
Yeah. I've delivered a baby because the midwife didn't make it in time. Not my role. Would not. Hopefully I won't get in trouble by my regulatory board. There was no choice. The midwife didn't make it. The baby was coming. I had done it watched many years before. I knew you can do it. I've had a mom deliver. The baby came so fast. Both the midwife and the ambulance didn't make it.
Oh my goodness.
You can. You absolutely can. Do I recommend it as a medical professional? No. No, I do not.
Yeah.
Because unless you have your own medical knowledge and training, you may not know if things are not going well. And that's why the medical system exists, even though it may not be practiced as such. But it's to observe from the outside in case they're needed to prevent any bad situations. Or you may not know, for example, how much bleeding is normal bleeding postpartum.
Yes, yeah.
And there is some normal amount, and there's some not normal amount, and you may not go to the hospital soon enough if left to your own devices. And so this is where, ideologically, I would love to be like free birth all the way. I would, because I do believe in our innate intuitive ability to birth. We would not be at 8 billion on this planet if we did not have this innate ability to do it. But as a medical professional who understands the bigger picture, I do think it's having eyes, even if we do nothing, having eyes to know if we need to intervene or transfer is very important. So if we have to have a hospital birth because we can't have a home birth, the best thing you can do is stay at home as long as possible. That is the best thing you can do, stay at home as long as possible. In hospital births, they don't always, I have some clients who actually say they feel better in a hospital because they know where they, if anything goes wrong, they're where they have to be. And that gives them comfort. And so even though I have that bias, hospital birth doesn't have to be a bad birth. And we can eliminate all the hospital feelings, but feel at the hospital, but we can change a lot of it, and it mostly comes from here, so we can do a lot there. And my hope in the future, hope you're listening, government, build more birth centers. More birth centers. We don't have to make the birthing units at hospitals look like the rest of the hospital. I think there are so many ways that we could have literally adjacent. So yes, there's that little bit of travel to the OR maybe, but can even maybe be a separate building. I don't know if that's possible, but just we don't have to make them look this way. And that takes, a conscious design to honor what this process is.
in hospital,
Mm-hmm.
do you think the care providers rush too quickly to intervene rather than trusting the process?
Depends on their experience. I'll say it like that. Sometimes, often yes. Often yes. I would say, yeah, often yes. Often yes, in the sense of augmentation is used a lot, induction is used a lot. Um, not, yeah, suggestions on even just let's get the epidural going now. Even if you're not in pain now, you might want, if I know you might want it later, well, the anesthesiologist is here now, so let's do it now. So there is that, yes, there is that level of rush, or oh, we need to get these things, because they do, there's things they need to get done before their shift, before this, before that. So there is that sense of their agenda, their time management.
Yeah.
And maybe not as much as, like, I call it like doing the dance. Like, I did, if any of you do performances or improv work or things like that, back in the day, I was a dance major, you find, like, there's this timing, you watch the stage, and you see when's a natural time to join in, right? When it works, versus, well, I want to walk in, so I'm going to walk in, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where that, like, midwife even approach is.
Yeah.
It is that you lead and we support, versus in the hospital, it's they lead.
Yeah.
There is that dynamic for sure. Of course, nothing is black and white. I will say, when I see, and what can happen with more experienced or more comfortable doctors, is that they do feel comfortable waiting more time. It goes both ways. It's either they assume they know too much and they're like, it's going to end up here, so let's just go. Or it is, they truly, like, there's some progress. Baby is good. We keep at it. There is some space for that. But it's how the practitioner themselves feel. And if maybe, not always, I don't like to generalize, so take this as a grain of salt. Maybe younger residents who are in the practice but maybe have not seen as much, maybe they're more nervous and they jump the gun a little bit more. And do doctors make wrong calls? Absolutely. They're human.
Do you think it could also be one of the results when there's a lot of pregnant women in the birthing center? And again, I know this is like just a spot-on question I asked,
no,
but
for sure. I will say, if there's a lot of, like, for example, if there's a lot of people at triage, they'll actually turn people away if they're not truly in active labor. If someone comes in, they're kind of whatever, 2 centimeters, we can't take you. Absolutely not.
Okay.
They would rather do that than induce. Because when I have 13 live rooms, you get that.
Yeah.
There's 13 live rooms. When you don't know how the babies are going to turn out, when they're going to show up, whatever, we're not going to add more chaos to that. So they are more likely to, it's called triaging.
Yeah.
Right? That process is, what is the likelihood, who needs help the most urgent now? That's how they work.
Yeah.
So are there sometimes times where they speed things up? Yes, but there's also sometimes when they slow things down. Because the broom over there, like, oh, we're going to turn down your Pitocin because we actually have 3 other C-sections that are about to go off right now, and we don't have people to actually birth your baby, so we
So
can't
it's more about convenience, isn't it? It sounds terrible.
Yes, I would call it management. I would call it management. But convenience is convenient. Inductions are convenient. I will say that. It's convenient to induce a client when you know you're going to be there on that day. On that day in those hours. Not on the weekends, sure. Most doctors, there is something to be said about that, especially when the ARRIVE trial, there's this big study that came out showing induction at 39 weeks is just as safe as induction at 41 weeks. So a lot of women who normally would have had the opportunity to go to 41 weeks were now, doctors were saying, well, it's safe to induce at week 39, so let's go. Because, yeah, it is convenient.
Yeah.
We know when it's scheduled, we know when the patient's in, we have control, we know what's going on. Induction is safe. It is safe, but I still, because it has risks, but it is generally safe, but it does have risks. But they don't ever talk about those risks. I find they always say, oh, it's all safe. And the downside to that, I find, is many cervixes are not very ripe at week 39.
Especially first-time moms, maybe?
Especially first-time moms. And so now we tripled the interventions. Because,
but Dr. Olivia, you have been in the practice for almost 10 years now, right?
Yeah.
And from your experience, like if you go back maybe 7-8 years,
yeah.
inductions was not a common thing happening back then, right? Do you think like recently there's so much induction happening that it messes with the natural birth? Like even if it was gonna happen,
Yeah.
but they still just...
Okay, there's two parts to this. An induction labor is not the same as natural. Your own was called spontaneous labor.
Right.
And I want to circle back a little bit to that ARRIVE trial because the study shows it's comparing apples to apples. Induction to induction, just at different times. It doesn't compare induction to spontaneous labor. So when everyone talks about, it's safe, well, it might not be more safe than spontaneous labor because that's not what they studied it against. So just aside there. But coming back, spontaneous labor and inductions are very different because the goal of induction is to get you to have 5 contractions in 10 minutes. Every 2 minutes, that's the goal of an induction. We want to get 5 and 10 is what they call it.
But what if the body is not ready?
Correct. Because, and this is the part that always will in me, is, when your body's having contractions that close together every 2 minutes, transition. When you're 7, 8, 9 centimeters, right before you push. But when you start an induction, you're what? Hopefully 3 centimeters. That's the minimum that they should be starting Pitocin at. You don't have contractions usually every 2 minutes at 3 centimeters. So I use the analogy of induction is like jumping in the deep end right away. Versus spontaneous labor, you wade in from the shallow end and you get to the deep end.
Yeah.
Right before you're about to get out. Because transition is normally in a spontaneous labor a very short period of time. Goes right into pushing. But now you're expected to deal with the intensity of transition for the whole labor. That makes it very hard to do without an epidural. And now we have double interventions from one.
Yeah.
And so this, our inductions happening more, they were always happening. But they were happening typically what we call 41 and 3. At the 41 mark plus 3 days. So you were given a lot longer for your body to be ready.
Yeah.
For them to say, we don't want to go past week 42. We'll schedule you now in case there's bump backs. And hopefully before week 42 you give birth. Now what I'm seeing is there's every medical reason in the world to induce before 40 weeks. That I'm seeing significantly more.
What could be the medical reasons?
Gestational diabetes is one of them. So there's a standard protocol. It could even be as early as 37, 38 weeks that they recommend induction because they don't want baby to get too big.
Hypertension?
Hypertension is another medical condition. And this is, but there's always, this is the thing, there's the condition and then there's your actual results. So someone who could say they're gestational diabetes positive, yes, but if they manage it with diet and lifestyle and all their blood sugar is okay and their baby's tracking well, why would we follow the algorithm of needing to be induced before week 40?
What is the time like for you?
Yeah.
What do you think is the healthy time to go to like 41
42.
weeks? 42 weeks.
No, that is the evidence. It's not just what I think.
Okay.
Up to week 42 is 37 weeks to 42 weeks is considered a normal just like normal time for moms to deliver their baby. We know week 37, our lungs are developed, it's safe to give baby. Week 36 quite often is often safe as well. So we know from there it's safe. From after week 42, this is where the odds, so trigger warning, I'm going to say the word stillbirth, right? So the odds of stillbirth go from being like 2% and under to almost as high as 12%. So there is something to be said of going too long, right? We keep the bun in the oven so long it burns.
Yeah.
The placenta's not meant to last forever. So at some point it doesn't function as well because it's meant to degrade and leave, right? So having our babies past 42 weeks is ill-advised, but within the 37 to 42 weeks is perfectly safe.
So, in a scenario where it's a first-time mom,
Yes.
Let us assume that she is gonna go up till 41 and 3-4 days,
Yes.
right? And if she's like rushed in 39 weeks and so days, and there are chances that she would go in spontaneous labor in the 42 week,
Correct.
because this is something happening a lot lately,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And there is not necessarily any medical condition that they had to be induced.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I will say there's one that I'm counseling right now. She has what's called a grade 3 placenta, which means there's all around the rim of the placenta, it's already calcified, which is showing it's very aged, and has a higher risk of detaching. And the baby's growth is starting to decrease on the ultrasound. This is a case where I would say, as a doctor, I think 39 weeks is valid.
You said higher risk of detaching from the lining, and that means it's not gonna give oxygen to the baby.
Correct.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So you do have, there are these cases. So, and some of your viewers may be in that percentage
Yeah.
where there is truly is a medical condition we are monitoring, and it is truly safer to induce earlier, to not wait. But those are very, I would say, clear circumstances, like that baby is dropping percentiles very significantly, 2 percentile gaps under the 3rd percentile, seeing consistently below normal amniotic fluid. If there's other, there's growth. There are a few. There's even more, I'm sure. But there's these middle grounds that are used as justification. This is where I think what you're kind of talking about is, they have gestational diabetes, but it's well managed and the baby's not growing too big.
Yeah.
Why are we inducing them at week 39? There's hypertension, but there's maybe just class 1, and it's not what we call preeclampsia, where they are peeing blood or proteins through their urine as well. So how long can we wait? Maybe it doesn't have to be week 39. Maybe it could be week 40 even. Just giving that bit more time. And if there's a takeaway that's anyone listening can take away when they're like, we need to induce you for X, Y medical reason, just say, because, for example, gestational diabetes doubles the odds of having a big baby. This is a stat I'm making up. You go, okay, doubles, can you give me the absolute risk? Because sometimes doubles is 1% to 2%. And if you had known that the risk was only 2%, you might not have agreed to that induction. Actually, I have a very great example of this, of doctors who talk about medical situations with fear-based language that encourage you to make these decisions, like inducing early or even choosing a C-section.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time I ever lost my cool at a doctor. Because my mom had been laboring really well for a long time. This was on the eclipse, just for timing. And I knew something wasn't quite right because she had good, strong 3-minute contractions. And when we finally got to the labor room, no one was really helping us. It took a long time. She was only 3 centimeters. And when the outside and the inside don't match, I'm like, something's up. Something is with this baby. This is an OP baby, and I had a feeling there was a cord around their neck because I've seen enough times this kind of, the body is trying, but the baby's not coming. Like, there's this disconnect. And so I'm like, I have a feeling this is it. Of course, I'm not sure. I don't see, but I have a feeling. And I said to her, I know this was not your plan, but I think you should get the epidural. And it was a big fear of her. And I don't love to tell people not to do their plan.
Yeah.
But I said, if this is this OP baby with a medical cord and we've already been laboring, so it was like Friday to Saturday, like over 12 hours together, which she had been laboring even by herself before that. There was still a while to go. I knew we needed beyond a physiologic relaxation. Because if there's a cord around the neck, sometimes we need that just full softness to ease that baby through. So we had just gotten the epidural. And a doctor who we'd never seen, we had not seen anyone for like 12 hours, just walks in and goes, oh, well, your water has been ruptured for now over 12 hours. We should start with the Pitocin. I was like, wow, that was fast. We just got the epidural, read the room. And she's a single mom, was helping a single mom. So she has no partners. She had her sister and her mom, but no partners. There's a risk baby, you can have an infection, and there's a risk baby can die. So we can also have C-section on the table. And I was like, what? Because one, the risk, and I was like, please give her proper, this is what I yelled, please give her proper informed consent with percentages to tell her the true situation of what's going on. Because I knew, just because there's a risk, it's not that risk. She's like, well, OBs are a little bit more anxious or, conscientious. The risk of of infection from your water breaking increases from 1% to 2% after 24 hours. And this mom had no signs of infection, no fever, no increased heart rate until after that doctor started talking about C-section, because this mom had spent thousands of dollars to have this donor baby, her one chance single doing alone. Yeah. She literally said, maybe I just need to cut this baby out of me. I don't want them to die. And her heart rate was 100, and even the nurse went back and talked to the doctor. We were everyone was so unimpressed. But that one statement, the mom, the sister, and the grandma, say it like that, the grandma, for the next 3 hours, I had to convince them that C-section was not the right thing to do right away. Because they heard baby could die. That's all they heard. That's all they heard, baby could die.
And that's everything they need to hear to lose their...
And it's so crazy to me, because that's not the first thing you do, even if there was an infection. You'd give them Tylenol and antibiotics and still wait for a vaginal birth.
Yeah.
And this doctor was going around talking about women who are even afraid of labor. She can always do C-sections, and C-sections are so safe. And I was like, this is a mom with no support, and you're going to recommend she gets a C-section when you're on pain medication and hard to get up for at least 2 to 3 weeks? It was so... I think that's I will never forget it. It was the biggest disconnect I've seen in the system for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it was a high-risk OB, because their brain is just on high risk. But that 1% to 2%. So when we talk about why are people rushing me, inducing me, we say, well, why? Mm-hmm. What is the reason? What happens if we wait? And give me the true percentage.
Yeah.
And it's my decision. Mm-hmm. Right? It's my decision. I disagree. I understand your recommendation. Wait, she went on to have the vaginal birth, and it was a cord around the neck. We did end up using Pitocin to help it through after some time to get the labor going, but she went on to have a vaginal birth. And the best part about that is because we avoided that C-section, when I got to see her, a day or 2 days after or 3 days after, she's up walking around. She's happy, stuff she wouldn't be able to do easily if she had the C-section, right?
Yeah.
And me being there is what prevented that C-section, because she would have went with it.
Because of no knowledge, right?
Because of no knowledge, and the doctor didn't use true informed consent.
Yeah.
Did not say, oh, this increases 1 to 2, but there's other things we can do if that is the case, and, if, but she brought it up first thing and acted like, and she said your baby could die. Like, she said that.
Oh, gosh. Unimaginable.
Yeah, it really was. I still have, when she was rested, it was the first time I've ever left a birth room. Like, I'm usually with there, and parents step out to the washroom or eat. I left to record a video. I still have it because of this experience. I was so flabbergasted. Because that's a total misnomer of the evidence.
Yeah.
And I do, we talk about, we're saying our induction's happening out of convenience, maybe. But what I think is happening more
Excuse me.
is misusing the evidence, or misusing the outcome of a fear to encourage the convenient decision.
Maybe misusing the power that they have as
Care providers.
care provider, right?
Yeah. Not doing true informed consent, right? Saying this doubles the risk, this does this. There's evidence showing that people thinking you have a big baby quadruples the amount, and this is when I quote, this study, this, who does this, evidence-based birth is an excellent resource. If you're going to follow anybody, audience viewers, evidence-based birth. It's a PhD nurse from the States who goes through all of these studies, who writes the pros and cons, who really analyzes the studies. These are the same studies that the doctors are using to make their decision making.
Right.
And if that is the best place to become informed, because then when you realize doctors, and most of labor, we're dealing in the 0 to 5% risk range, most of it. And for a lot of people, we're not that risk averse from 0 to 5%.
Yeah.
And we're making decisions because it's talked about like it's doubling, like going to 50%.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Moms being so naive and so vulnerable in that situation. Like, I feel so bad that this is the time where the care provider has to provide
Care. Yes.
That's what they need to do, right?
Yes.
But Dr. Olivia, what do you think, like, if, let's say, like, even I've heard from my midwife as well, they said, like, first time moms go beyond 39 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, and which is okay.
Totally.
Like we already spoke about
Yes.
it, that going up to 41 weeks and few days, 42 weeks is healthy.
Totally.
Right? There's not really much risk.
No.
Like, unless you have a medical condition.
Correct.
But what would you suggest in terms of, like, physical well-being? How can a mom prepare herself to, be calm and also reduce the chances of ending up in a rushed birth even at 42 weeks? How can a first-time mom prepare kind of herself mentally and physically?
This is where I would say the resources that I would use to encourage what we call spontaneous labor do fall more under the category of the naturopathic medicine perspective, like acupuncture, like herbal tinctures if needed, like evening primrose oil, like lots. There's a couple things there.
Acupuncture can help too?
Oh yes, acupuncture can. There are studies showing that it helps ripen the cervix against versus a control group. So these moms were more likely to be more dilated when they were arriving in the hospital, more likely to go. I don't think the study said more likely to go into spontaneous labor. We did have a study by eating dates that says that.
Do you think raspberry leaf tea also helps? It's too much on social media these days.
It's everywhere. You know, this, I have a whole course on this. The studies that are actually done, I'll say it like this, when you apply it to actual uterine tissue, it does what it's supposed to do. So red raspberry leaf tea, this is now my naturopath body. This is not a doula stuff. If a doula is talking to you about all of this stuff, unless they have any actual secondary designations, I would get a second opinion. Because they are not herbal practitioners. What education do they have for that? They are not naturopaths. Maybe they're nutritionists, maybe. Okay, right? Like, what is that? Oh, your doula can recommend things like walking, sleeping, breathing exercises, right? Once we start talking about supplements, teas, things like that, you should be checking with someone, your midwife, your naturopathic doctor, someone else. Okay. Red raspberry leaf tea, coming back to your red raspberry leaf tea. So it's called a uterine tonic. A tonic in herbal medicine is like a balancer is the best way to term it. So if you were to have, in theory, lax muscles, it would tighten them for you. And if you had too tight muscles, it would relax them. It's a balancer.
Okay.
And this is very odd in traditional evidence-based medicine, because how can one thing kind of work like that on an individual? What was very interesting is they tested this directly on animal uterine tissue, and it did what it said. It did the true tonic thing. The difficulty in its application is we take it orally. We don't directly apply it to the uterus.
Yeah.
And when we take something orally, we don't know how much of it is getting to its target organ. And the studies that exist, I would say, are mixed. Some show benefit, some don't show any benefit. From, I would say like this, is you drinking or not drinking going to make the difference? I don't think so. As a naturopath, would I still recommend it? Yes, in combination with like nettle or some other teas here to help overall symptoms and preparing the body. In theory, you know, if we have the daily usage of it, it can help to tone the uterus. But there's no evidence to say it will help you go into spontaneous labor. What I think it will say, it might help your labor be stronger and so more efficient, maybe.
I get it.
Yeah, and there's traditional wisdom, and I don't like to dismiss it. Because I like to think the humans that were existing thousands of years ago were just as smart as the humans that exist now. We just have the knowledge that built upon, and they didn't have it yet, right? They are discovering it, and they knew how to observe. And so I don't want to dismiss it completely just because some of the studies that exist now say doesn't work. So there's something to be said, but I would say I have a lot of moms who drink a lot of the teas, and there's not like I don't see a statistic relevance of a difference. The moms that did it, the moms that didn't do it, the moms that did it sometimes end up in C-sections. The moms that didn't do it sometimes have their, it's not causative.
Yeah. But even myself, I recently found out a lot of benefits of naturopathic treatments. And I also came across a doctor speaking about how you can manage stress much better when you do the acupuncture in your, the later weeks.
Yes.
So does that also something that plays a role if we choose that route?
Yeah, stress is, I've seen it, this is what we call like observationally. I've seen labors go really well because there's no stress, but I've seen actually labors happen because there is stress. Because all of a sudden this chaos happened, found out my cat had to be put down, and boom, my body went into labor.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating. I would say every body has its own programming. Every baby has its own programming, and it's how these two compartments come together. And are there things we can do to stack the odds for them to go well? together and end in our, if we were to say, vaginal birth, because that's what we term as the goal. It doesn't matter how exactly vaginally, but vaginally, or vaginal birth. Yes, there are things you can do. Positioning, spinning babies is another resource I like to share and tell people about. The idea of how your baby is positioned can help you labor better.
What if it's a breech baby? What's the next step?
It depends on what type of breech. So there's breech where it's the baby's bum is sitting. We can't deliver the bum first vaginally. It doesn't work.
You mean like
the bum instead of where the head is?
Got it. That's a U?
Yeah, the U.
Wow.
The bum.
Of course, yes. It's
The
cannot
legs
come out.
holding the baby pose. Yoga baby pose. Right?
Yeah.
Happy baby pose. That's not very easy to do vaginally. Not at all. So often, in the way things are practiced now, that would be a C-section, but you can do what's called an external cephalic version that is trying to flip the baby. So you can try to naturally, by your own positioning, see if you can help your baby rotate. So like thinking of a downward dog position, putting you kind of upside down, if that can help your baby. There's certain ways we can position to help. So there's that yourself. Then the doctor does this external cephalic version. If that procedure goes well, we flipped the baby, we can proceed in having a vaginal birth. But if none of those work, that is a C-section. If there's a foot, if it's feet first, it depends on your care providers of their comfort level of what they can deliver. There are doctors who do deliver breech babies that come feet first. That was a skill many people used to have. And with C-sections becoming, I think it is the number one surgery that happens now, like across the globe. And it's very safe, and it is relatively very safe, and people know what they're doing. It's very easy in that sense. That's what they choose.
Yeah.
Because there's no risk in their mind associated with that procedure, but there might be risk with doing a breech delivery.
In an ideal situation where there's not really an ideal, every situation is different with every mom, but when there's feet first, how are the hands? Like, is it like this or it's up?
Couldn't tell you. I don't see
Something
it that
from
often.
experience, past
Yeah.
experience.
When it's feet first, at some point we likely would have the hands coming up with the delivery. It'd be very weird to me that the hands stay down as that passage, like if we're talking through the actual delivery. Because then we'd have to have those hands really staying down. So hands do deliver kind of up like this. That would make logical sense to me.
So, Dr. Olivia, we spoke about a lot of these naturopathic treatments, and I'm glad to know about the acupuncture and how it helps to have a good progress in labor.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Have you also heard of placenta encapsulation? It's like something going around a lot, and I mean, what's the hype about?
Yeah, I noticed it was 2019 when it got really big because some celebrities did it, and all of a sudden everybody was eating their placentas.
Yeah.
And I think it came along with this paleo thing at the same time, and everyone was going on about like, back in the cave ages, we were healthier and everything. Two schools of thought here, and then my personal opinion. I'll say it like that. So one school of thought is we do see in traditional Chinese medicine them drying out the placenta, adding certain herbs to it, and then potentially using it in tincture forms to refeed to mom, basically for optimal wellness. I'm not 100% versed in it, this exact thing, but there is a truly traditional pathway here. And then we have what I will say is Understanding Health Canada has actually not approved it anymore. It was kind of in consultation, and they've chosen not to approve it as a safe thing to do, regulatory wise. That may somehow to do with how it's prepared, safety standards, and not being able to, like, someone just comes to your kitchen and brings a dehydrator and sets up some stuff and does it in your kitchen. Like, how clean can we guarantee that, especially when we're doing it for care? My personal take, because I have colleagues, naturopathic doctors, who understand the Chinese medicine, work with it, and would recommend it. And I'm in the camp that I would not recommend it. I don't see huge harm in it. If you do, I'm kind of indifferent, but the benefit that we look at placental encapsulation, we traditionally, or the evidence, or what people are saying it's good for, is mood. And I know of other naturopathic strategies that I would use, that, like, through amino acids, blueberry concentrate, tryptophan, like these other approaches that don't require you eating a part of your organ, that we can treat. My worry about placental encapsulation is that it can interfere with lactation, from my understanding. Because the hormones that are circulating when your placenta is live and active is in pregnancy, not postpartum.
Yeah.
And if we reintroduce those circulating entities, we may tell our body we're still pregnant in a way, and may decrease our prolactin. You'll have to probably ask Sarah a little bit more on if I'm saying it exactly. But what I noticed when we had this big paleo movement and it came out is the quote that was really used is animals eat their placenta as the evidence of why we should eat our placenta.
Yeah.
And I always go, well, if we think about mammals, right, they go off in a little dark, buried cave, right, or under a bunch of leaves, and all their litter is blind for the first couple days, weeks. So you can't necessarily leave, and you have to have your food there. Well, what's accessible? Well, the placenta you just birthed that you didn't need anymore. So they eat it out of survival because they cannot leave, and they need something to nourish. And they cannot, as a mammal, leave the smell of blood, very likely for predators to find them.
True.
So I'm sure this developed, and animals do it to, yes, protect themselves and to nourish themselves.
Wow.
But us as, and so my counter is, but do marine animals do it? No, because it floats away and it's not linked to where they are. We don't see marine animals eat their placentas. So that's something, right? So, like, if we look at things critically, and then we look at humans, well, maybe in traditional medicine, we had a lot of practices of 40 days at home, which I think is still very important, and really honoring that. But we also had famines and maybe not the greatest food supply, and it is a piece of meat just like our goats and cows, and maybe we did prepare things like that, and we did need it for nourishment then, if we didn't have other food sources. If we're in a rural farm, who knows where, with so much stuff. Now we're in, at least in North America, we're in a quite overfed society, myself included. We have access to nourishment. Do we need to take this organ that was inside of us and be honest? Were you the cleanest eating? Would you eat yourself? Were you the cleanest, best quality meat? I wasn't. I wouldn't. And it's a filter. The placenta is also a filter to make sure.
True. Exactly,
Right? And so
what's going to the baby? It's filtering it there, right?
So it didn't always sit well with me. Like I said, I have very many colleagues in my profession that I do respect, and I respect their stance on it, their opinion, and their use of traditional medicine. And outwardly, I don't think it's harmful. Like, I don't think you doing it is harmful at all. The small percentage it could affect your milk, again, we can also work on other things there. And we can try it and then see, does it actually affect your milk? But I don't think it's largely helpful. So if I'm doing a cost-benefit analysis, because this costs money.
It does,
Is it really going to be the thing I'm going to put my money in? I personally would not. and I did not.
Got it. What about cord blood banking?
No.
Because that's also something that's very expensive.
So it's
And then
the
I
science
suppose
is not there yet.
they're just thinking like this could come in use for some big worst case scenario.
Right now, yeah, I do not recommend it. If you were to my opinion, I would not recommend it. It is a lot of money. There's only 8 conditions that it's actually been proven to help, that are very rare. We have to make sure there's been recent scandals in the U.S. for a company that was charging a family, and their deposit was actually unusable, but they still kept charging the family. Yes, the science is not there yet. And I'm going to say it like this. I do not support the private collection of it. There are government cord blood banks. They have systems built, like the Canadian Blood Care Services, that do collect donor blood to go for these projects of research and things like that, to help to see if we can develop this way. Sometimes the private sector moves faster than public sector, absolutely. I don't think this is an area where it truly will. I could be proven wrong, I can be wrong. I think right now, as it stands, it's not worth the investment.
Do you think it's a business trick? Can we call it that?
I would say so. I would say so.
Yeah.
Because we have to look about, okay, what are these genetic conditions, what are these conditions that are happening? Are you telling me there's no other medical alternative? What about if it's a kidney, we can have kidney donors or blood marrow donors, or there's these new, even injection vaccines based on the mRNA to deliver, like there's so many other novel scientific discoveries that exist to stabilize organ transplant, to all the new procedures. I don't know that this alone is the savior and cure that it's going to be, really. I think it started with a great intention. But I think if we look at everything, sometimes the science project fails. Sometimes we don't reach the hypothesis. Sometimes we don't get, and it's when do we drop the project? And I think we're maybe in the phase of dropping the project. Granted, so I would not recommend it. I would tell people to really look for it. But I think if you have extra money, you support science discovery, you really truly understand what's going on with your sample, and what the science is. It could be viable, but it's not here yet. It's not here yet, and I don't think it will be for a long time.
So, Dr. Olivia, this episode was very insightful for me, and the sole reason was to have that avenue where I can help moms understand the power of having a doula. Also because I did not have it, and I thought we should help moms understand what kind of support they can expect, right? This was very, very insightful for me. I'm sure it's going to be very insightful for the moms out there. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us, and I'm very, very glad to have this conversation with you today.
I'm so grateful for the invite. I likewise like sharing this information. This is what I love to do. This is what myself and my co-founders wanted to do. And so I'm grateful for the platform to be able to share more of this information.
I'm going to link down the Downtown Doula page and also Dr. Olivia's page. So if anybody wants to, go and talk to her about things that we discussed, just feel free to bug her. I believe she'll be more than happy to answer everyone.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not the best at the social media stuff, but emails. So if you go through your Downtown Doula, we do meet and greets all the time for this kind of stuff. Absolutely. I'm so happy to pop on a call with people and see what care makes sense for them.
Wonderful.